Greetings, adventurers, and welcome to the Adventure Incorporated podcast. I am your dungeon master, Anthony Reed. This is a special Q&A episode. Last Thursday on twitch.tv/SRSBIZ_network, we recorded a Q&A. We took questions from people in the chat. We took questions ahead of time about the first campaign. And I think there's some great stuff in here you're really going to enjoy. Some amazing questions, and thank you to everybody who sent questions in. Thank you to everybody who was there live in chat. And thank you to our patrons at patreon.com/adventureinc who make all of this possible. They are the ones that make this thing a thing. They do such an amazing thing supporting us. We appreciate it so, so much. Next week, right here on the feed, you're going to be getting a teaser of Campaign 2. We're very excited to unveil that. Some great information in there. And all this week, starting tomorrow and onward, you can expect all kinds of cool stuff to drop on our social media. So if you're not on our social media, you're not in the Discord, you want to get there because new information for the new campaign is coming. And we're going to start in earnest on the 19th with new episodes. So check back with us then. We are so very excited. And it's time to check out this Q&A. So let's get started. Great
question. Great question.
Hi, everyone. We're live now. This is happening. It is hashtag Adventure April, as Captain Hygiene in the chat points out. And we
March 32nd, baby.
And this is our live Q&A for the completion of the first story arc. I guess story arc, major story arc, campaign arc of the Adventure Incorporated podcast, and we are thrilled to be here tonight to talk about it and answer all of the questions that everyone had, of which there were many. And additionally, tonight we are going to do some drawings for our Adventure March. So here's your last opportunity if you're in the chat. You need to make sure you talk in the chat tonight, so I know you're here, and I'll add you to the list. But it's going to be the final drawing where we're going to, we got 2 t-shirts we're going to give away and a slot to play some Dungeons and Dragons, which we will also give away at the end. Excuse me. So, otherwise, this is going to be a fun night of questions and answers.
Other than the giveaway, this is going to be a fun night.
That'll be an unfortunate night for all but 3 of you. For everyone else, the fun part is coming now. It's now. So again, if you have questions, throw them in the chat. And then we'll do this. It's going to be good. I guess we can start off with Mikey's question right off the bat.
Yeah, I was going to say, Mikey had a great question just before we went live, and I would really like to hear the answer to it. So, Mikey, if you want to ask the question again for the sake of the audience who might have missed it. Oh, you did it in chat.
So, yeah, I threw it in the chat just in case we didn't get to it right away. So I was just wondering, this is for anybody on the panel. How, like in a normal podcast, how do seasons function? I feel like our podcast was quite extensive, 260 episodes, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of episodes, a lot of time went by. And I think Pokedexpert in particular, I think it's on season 15, and it's been out for like a half a year, I think. So just curious, love the show.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
So I would say in general,
not 260.
Not 260, I think is probably pretty typical for a self-contained story, I guess. But this. If you had asked me 4 years ago how long this story was going to go, I'd have said 5 years, 260 episodes. So, I knew where we were going, and it's what the story needed, and I think that it worked out exactly right. So, sometimes it is what it is.
That's not the question.
Yeah, that's not the question.
That's not the question.
I don't know the answer. I don't think there is.
I feel like it
Here's
depends
what's
on
great.
the genre of stuff, right? Like, so, like, your Invisibilias, your freaking like NPR podcasts, their seasons are like 10 episodes, like a real TV show. And then D&D podcasts, what are seasons? Seasons schmeasons. We have campaigns.
And I will also say, no, go ahead, Mike.
I was gonna say, I think how long was Serial? Serial was like 12 episodes or something. Yeah. Lore did 10 episode seasons for a very long time. Like somewhere between 8 and 16 feels like a normal season length for a show.
Yeah, but that depends. That again, I think Rob's absolutely right. It really depends on what kind of show, right? If we did an 8-episode season of this show, like that's nothing.
Welcome to level 3. Cliffhanger, like,
and we're done. We're out. See ya. So I think it really depends. A good example is Hello from the Magic Tavern, a popular improv fantasy show with no plot. It goes 100 episodes a season. Their season divides are arbitrary because there's no plot. So it just kind of depends.
Yeah, well, and I'll say we started same week, same day as Botched.
Yep.
We started like an hour before them.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, so they are on season 4, episode 43.
Season 5.
Season 5. I am wearing my glasses. Reading is really hard, especially peripherally. Sorry, y'all.
it's true.
So they're on season 5. So they've done roughly a season a year with different length seasons, kind of balancing that out. Adventure Zone, their first arc was... Anyone want to guess how many episodes? Mike can't guess because he cheated. So the balance arc of Adventure Zone.
Was it 80?
21.
It's so much better.
69.
How many?
Nice.
Damn.
So
We took our freaking time, basically.
well, yeah, but I think that's like your genre dictates that. Like for Protest Too Much, we're on season 3 because I'm doing 10 episode seasons because my seasons focus on like a subgenre of Shakespeare. So we're on like clowns and fools and entertainment, and I don't want to spend a year talking about fools and Shakespeare. Like I don't want to spend a year doing that. I want to spend like 3 months. That seems like the right amount of time for me. So
Good
I think
stuff
it's just
doesn't
like
believe in seasons. We just go forever.
Yeah, I get you.
It gets hard after a certain point. You're like, I don't know if there's that many Oreos left. And there's always.
There's always another Oreo.
Always
Around the
Morios.
This might be a good place to talk a little bit about our plans going forward, which is to say that for season... Yes, Mike.
I have a question before we move on. Mikey, did that answer your question?
Yeah. They're just all the answers, all the length of time. Just
that does remind me of what I was going to say, which is one of the things I love about. Sorry, this is what it is. It's me talking the night. One of the things I love about this genre.
Adventure Inc. podcast. Sorry, go on.
One of the things I love about
Continue.
this.
I'll mute my.
I'll take the answer off air. Thank you.
One of the things I love about this medium, I should say, is that we are beholden to no one. Our episodes are as long as the episodes should be. Our story is as long as the story should be. Our release schedule is what the release schedule should be. It's what we make of it to a degree, right? And so we told a really, really involved, long story. And it needed that space to breathe. And, obviously... it might be better to do some more resets more frequently, but I think that we couldn't have had. I don't think it could have worked out better. So I'm very pleased with it, even if it was long, and even if it was 2 solid weeks of audio.
1 week, 6 days, 23 hours, and 49 minutes.
Well, I'm tacking this in, so we're gonna call this the.
That's so less satisfying. Oh, we gotta go back. We have to go back.
But our plans going forward for campaign 2 and beyond, it is our plan to do things maybe a little bit more digestible, we'll say. Campaign 2 is a 4-year campaign that we are going to do split into 2 big sections. So you should expect us to do, if all goes according to plan. And so that's the other part of this, is that this is all dependent on how things break out in the actual play. But our expectation is we're going to do about 2 years and then do a soft reset with the same or maybe different characters, but the same setting of the world, and do another 2 years. And then there'll be another break in the world that we will take some time, and then we'll do a final campaign that is very tentatively 3 years. We'll see when we get closer. I don't want to commit too heavily, but it'll be at least 7 years. That's all I'm saying. You have at least 7 more years of us.
And then it's to the future!
The moon, baby!
If the Adventure Corporation becomes real!
All right, let's get to these submitted questions. Mikey, thank you for that great question.
Great question,
great
Mikey.
question.
Great question.
Here's our first question up here. Why does Keth's weapon sound like Yoda, Rob?
That question's from me.
So full disclosure, I'm bad at accents. If you've listened to any of our Patreon episodes, you know this. And so I just sort of was like, I'm going to commit to a voice that sounds somewhat like Uthral, and what came out of my mouth was Yoda. And so it was like Yoda Uthral, and I was like, this is really funny. And that's the whole story. Like, there's no deepness to it beyond there. Just like, I'm gonna try and evoke Uthral. I'm gonna fail, and it's gonna sound like Yoda. And everyone's gonna laugh, and that's all. It was just a mess with Mikey, really, more than anything.
Uthral.
Yo, Uthral.
We had a good bond, I think. It was good. I really loved the weapon voices all around. Everyone did a great job.
We've got some more weapon questions coming up, so I'm sure we'll get a chance to dig into that. Right now, though, Keth. Keth's timeless body says he doesn't need food, but it seems to me that the term food is being used in the literal sense compared to the all-encompassing term that would include his vampire hunger. What's up with that?
What's up with that?
What's up with that?
I added the what's up with that editorially because this ended and it wasn't really a question. So it was a statement of fact. And so I've added, what's up with that?
What's the deal?
They wanted you to just end with an inflection. Just go, what's up?
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry.
I forget the last word.
Compared to an all-encompassing term that would include his vampire hunger?
Yeah. No, that would, yeah, perfect. Well,
Okay.
Great
Much
question.
better.
Great question.
Great question.
Great question.
Yeah.
Good answer.
How I viewed it is that, Keth was a monk, and he's as a strict monk. He would not have needed to eat, but he's got this extra thing going on. His soul cracked and something seeped in, so it kind of supersedes whatever life he was living before. So he had to start living a new life and new hunger.
Yeah, to me, I think the hunger that his body feels, that's of the body, right? And he's been able to push that away. He fills it with his ki, we'll say, and that's why his body feeds off his ki instead. But the hunger of the vampire part of him, that's a hunger of the soul. And he's looking for like essence to fill that. Nothing's going to help with the key there. That's not going to work. Solstinence.
I am glad this question got asked because I asked the same fucking question. When it happened, I stopped. I was like, wait a minute, time out. How is this going to work? He doesn't need to eat.
And I said, there's a reason and we might get to it. And we didn't. Now we did.
We didn't.
Good question.
Okay.
Yeah,
let's
great
see.
question.
Very good question. So now we have here. So what happened to Viltroth? We saw him right before Gorm turned to the Avatar of Shadow, and I heard Jebeddo console Redbridge over him, but I don't know if I heard if he was destroyed or what. Also not a question, definitely a statement, but that's... or what?
What?
So...
You know what listeners love? When you're critical of their question. Like, I just think they just eat that up.
No, it's fine. Everything's fine. So I would say this. Viltroth, I'm going to tell this story because I love it. The Gorm fight is happening. Viltroth comes down. My plan is to have Viltroth join the fight after Gorm gives himself over to the Shadow and provide some exposition as to what is happening with the Shadow, what's happening with the Shadow Lord, and like to sort of paint the scene as it's going with information that the players don't have access to. In response to that, Mike silenced him like immediately, which makes total sense. He's a spellcaster, right? He was running his mouth, and so you're like, "Fuck you."
I got nervous. He was going to cast something at the end of it, and I didn't want to give you the chance.
And I was like, "Oh well, shit." I was like, I could like cheese this, I guess, but no, I guess he just doesn't say what he has to say. So the answer to this question is that his whereabouts are currently unknown. Viltroth was fighting alongside the Shadow. The Shadow was defeated, and what happened to Viltroth? I don't know. We're gonna have to wait and see.
What? The story's over.
Maybe a little listen and find out in place here would be valuable. If someone's story is over, I'm happy to talk about it now because, you know, especially people who would be dead in the future. Now, will Viltroth be dead in the future? Maybe, but maybe not. He might live forever. He's a lich, so we'll just have to wait and see.
And again, Asher is sorry about that. He did, I believe, make the Shadow Lord have the ability to make a lich. So I do apologize.
Oh, that's right.
Because the wish,
Yeah,
which I blame on Virillion. That's
I
fine.
remember.
Someone in the chat mentioned that he thought Viltroth was killed in a Patreon episode. He was fought in a Patreon episode. He may have even been cut down, but he is a lich and he does reform at his phylactery. So... you know, more to see. We'll see. Okay. So here's a good question that I'm excited about the answer for. Which NPC is actually the Anthony avatar? And this is for everyone else. I mean, it's also for me, but I want to hear everyone else's answers first.
Ooh. I think the Anthony avatar most of the time is Redbridge. I think the time where it's like that's not 100% true is because Steph plays Jennuvera so much like Steph, and Anthony loves Steph so much. That's the one time where that's not true, right? Like he's like, it couldn't be me. Look at how mean I am to Jennuvera. Like that's the exception that proves the rule.
No, that's my same answer too, though. That was my gut reaction, was Redbridge, just because like super like concerned with what's right and
the rules. And yeah.
I think subconsciously
Anthony, you don't get to talk yet.
Yeah, I think subconsciously it's either because I think like on the surface it's Redbridge, but I think there's a deeper level. There's like a subconscious Anthony character that Anthony is like put in there that he doesn't mean to be like another part of him. And I think that's King Greywood because he's obsessed with like lore. He's just like, I'm going to talk about the Blade War. And everyone's like, that nobody cares right now. We're fighting.
Yes.
But let me talk about the Grey. Hold on 1 second. Like, but I think Redbridge is like the most personality wise. And then like Greywood's the most subconscious.
Yeah.
These are the things I like wise.
Either Greywood or Kaelith, right? I think
Kaelith,
Anthony's I think Anthony's got a lot of Kaelith. Well, actually.
Yeah.
The fun just doing shit of Klug, I feel like also is a bit Anthony. Like I feel he did a good job spreading out his personality.
That's troll Anthony. That's troll Anthony.
Yeah. I feel like that could definitely be an aspect. So
That was my favorite part of Anthony in college. Was Clug Anthony. When I could pull Clug Anthony out of him, separating him from Redbridge Anthony, those were my favorite nights with Anthony.
What this conversation has taught me is not which NPC I'm in, but really what aspect of actual me each of you interacts with the most that you think is the regular me. So the fact that Mike is just like this drag who's always about the rules says more really about Mike, I think, than it does about me.
And then me being like, oh, fucking lore. I just want to play a cool druid, Anthony.
So anyway, I guess Mikey and I are the buddies in this group is what I'm trying to say. We're the fun-loving buddies.
It's like 3 a.m.
What did you say about him being rude to me?
So overall, I think that there are a few pieces of, like you've pointed out, there's a few pieces of me in all these characters because that's how you make characters. But they definitely have very distinct personalities and very distinct elements of that. And I think, but when I like self-identify, it's Elatrix. That's the one that I like self-identify with, which is probably
because he's
just
the most
not
like
true.
a paladin.
He's very introspective. Like also because I'm. He's what, Mike?
Nothing.
Pompous fuck, I think is the exact quote.
No pompous fuck.
Yeah, I believe.
I'm gonna have to roll that back
the
and see. I
coolest,
think he
most
said
powerful
pompous
character ever. You know, just like I'm immortal and I get to do cool
Yeah,
things.
but he doesn't do anything.
Until he did.
We're going to bring back the Fae. We're here. You're gonna do stuff? No.
Nah, I did it.
That was Lanier. I'm not saying Lanier. I'm saying Elatrix.
Related.
Elatrix did some things.
Literally, yeah.
Here's what pisses me off about Anthony choosing Elatrix. Elatrix is like so clever that he fools all of us for the first like 2 years of the show. And Anthony thinks his ass is clever enough to fool anybody even a little bit of the time.
But I also fooled you for 2 years of the show.
We almost figured it out like 5 times.
Steph.
This is a formal request for everyone in chat to please stop using the word daddy in relation to Anthony.
Why would you do that?
You've now made it. You've made the problem worse.
I just need that to stop.
I liked my Anthony Anthont Phylacter read for his Anthony. His
All right.
Anthony,
I like that.
That's a
Lich.
good.
That's good.
Yeah, that's a good Halloween name, Anthony. Write that one down.
Yeah, put that in the Discord. Put that in your journal.
No
more daddies.
We're moving on. Will the magic weapons return next season? Question mark.
Anthony in chat.
Anthony, I saw it.
It's got a question. I am taking that one from chat first before that.
Okay, yeah. Okay, fine. D'Anthony?
Dadthony?
D'Anthony,
Yeah.
Steph?
No.
Yes.
D'Anthony, yeah, that's fine. Sorry, I was looking at Stealth King's most recent comment.
Daddy
and just
Anthon.
reacting. D'Anthony is fine.
Oh my god.
I don't know if that's visible to everyone.
Captain Hygiene, you are a true hero.
He blocked the term daddy.
Good. Now we can proceed.
All right, great.
Use of power. I love it.
Rob, I think you might be a mod. That's why you get away with it.
Hell yeah.
Okay. Will the magic weapons return next season? I think no. The magic weapons will not be returning next season. Insofar as a mechanic that we created for the game, right? And I want to give everyone a chance to talk about the magic weapons themselves here in a minute. But I think as far as the idea of magic weapons that were attached to players and grew with them and like gained personalities, I think they were really cool. I think they worked some of the time. I think they worked better as we adapted them than we did in their initial conception. which would have been great for a tabletop game where we weren't playing with an audience, but we're not easy to track otherwise. And I think that they, but I also kind of think that they were a piece of that story. And I don't think that we're not going to pull them out for the next story. But I do think that they were a really fun way to explore some of these characters. So let's go around the room. I'll start with, let's talk about the weapon you played and what were you doing with the weapon you played? And we'll start with Steph since she was first.
So it was frustrating because when Gebeddo leveled up, Anthony sent me a message in Discord that said, "You're playing his weapon. You have no memory of anything."
That is brutal.
That's all I got. Like that was the only. So I didn't know. Like, so the idea of trying to build a relationship with I had no idea what to do. And like it was and then like, yeah, I don't know. So like I'm not thrilled with the way that Gebeddo's weapon turned out. I would have liked to have like made a character that had a connection with him, that like developed in a way that had a character voice that wasn't just like weird
Sexy.
moany stuff. Like and I just like I
liked it.
I just didn't like it. And then getting to see all the rest of the weapons and like how developed they were, and it just, I was jealous of the opportunity to build a character instead of just like, I'm not great at improv.
You were jealous of Yoda voice?
Sorry. The rest of them.
Sure. Okay. Understood.
No, but like just like having the context and having the foreknowledge of what would end up happening.
Right.
I wanted a do-over.
And I mean, you set the bar, right? Like you were put in the onus or like the terrible place of being like, you're gonna decide how we do this from now on. So that pressure was probably insane because you're like, I guess this is the voice.
I think it was really the no memory that threw me.
Okay.
Because like to be able to build, like I wanted to, like if I were to build a character, I would have been there. Like it wasn't just like, now I'm born of sentience in this moment. So that
and for me, I wanted to make sure, because sentience in a weapon like that is not common in the world. And so I didn't want it to be like, oh yeah, I've been aware of everything up until now since my creation. I was just waiting for this moment, right? I wanted it to be like, this is a entity that now exists and didn't before. And that's a hard thing to, and I chose to convey it by saying, you have no memory, go. I also, I wanted to make sure that for, that we didn't have like, we didn't plan it out, that it was sort of spontaneous and that I sprung it on you guys. Like that's what I was shooting for. So it happened. I don't, maybe it wasn't for the best, but that's what happened.
It wasn't for me. I knew I was next. So I had time.
Yeah, you had time and that's what you came up with.
No, I know.
No, so like, and I like, it ended up like working in a way that like it, was a thing, and that became, that's not a choice I would make like
but
preemptively and I know.
I think that's what makes it better, is that it is so separate, right? Like it's the complete opposite of Jennuvera. And that like is so important when you like are playing two characters, that they behave so differently, and they're like the way they carry themselves and the way they feel are so different. So like that was a lot of the choice behind when when Dune Song came to life. The two things I thought were, I have called this sword Dude Song for 4 years now.
You sure did.
Dude Song is going to sound like a guy who would think Dude Song is a cool name. That was one. And then 2 was, how do I make him sound so opposite from Gebeddo? 3 was, wouldn't it be funny if his sword was also horny?
Yeah, that was where I was like, but you're missing a key part.
Yeah. Oh no, it was third on the list, but it was on the list.
All right, bud.
Let's
It's like horny
fuck.
Wolverine.
Yeah.
Like really horny Wolverine. That's really what it was.
Yeah.
And we talked a little bit about Yoda.
I mean,
Yothrall.
yeah, and I mean, the voice was more funny than I think the personality. I felt like Mikey broke the mold a little bit when he made.
God. Did he ever?
Oh my God! When you made a crossbow fucking charming as hell, like, I was like, well, now I got to do something different. I can't be like, well, now I'm horny Yoda. Like, I can't. Nobody wants this.
Yeah, that's not the third beat anymore.
No, we've moved beyond this. It's been dropped. And so
no, it was such a good move.
It was needed, and it was like we don't want everything to feel the same, right? And for
Just fucking all horny.
There's a reason you're last, Mikey. Yours is the best, and
Yeah.
I can't wait to hear about it.
but for the Redeemers, I wanted to play something that evoked the same essence and charm of Uthral, but was different. But I couldn't do an Uthral voice, so it worked out to be just kind of a sillier voice. But like personality-wise, he was always like, "Keth, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Stop doing that.
Murder people. Stop not murdering.
Yeah, like, you are getting yourself killed if you don't fight right now. Like, what is your plan?"
I liked that kind of conflict that Keth had with the weapon, because I feel like Keth himself was full of contradictions and conflict, because he is half orc and he's trying to not, murder things that, don't need to be murdered. So to have a weapon that was such a part of him express that conflict was interesting.
What I also love about it is that you have 3 weapons between the Unseen Blade and the Redeemers and Doonsong. They are all like melee weapons with characters who are using them in a melee way, and they are all like, yeah, let's fucking kill. And then you have Ataha, which hasn't fired a bolt since
like the first year.
Episode 2.
That has like a totally different attitude, and I think that's really cool. Like, that's a very cool element to the personalities that developed for these characters. So let's talk about Ataha.
The best one.
Hands down, the best weapon.
Just loving naps left and right. Just being like, oh, there's nothing going on. All right, let's chill. Oh, we're going to the library. That sounds great. Well, let's chill over there.
I fucking loved the accent too, because it was just so posh. Just so.
I think that Ataha wanted to be kind of empathetic, supportive, and because like Jennuvera is a teenager, this kind of like angsty, sort of like nervous, self-conscious teenager that I think would have wanted to have this sort of friend almost, where it's just like this like cat just about, and yeah, that was a large part of it, and it was fun. I don't know. I went with the decisions that were fun, as long as it was being nice and supportive, I guess. That's kind of how I approached it, and that kind of evolved from there.
Yeah, I think that what was like I loved what Ataha became, and I think it was a kind of a good foil for Jennuvera, to have something that was like, let's just take it slow. Like, I'm here for you, just gonna listen, maybe take a nap. Like, it was so good, and it was like, it felt like a friend. Like, it felt. And like for Gebeddo, as we got into it, Gebeddo is always the one like, let's do this, and so to have a sword that he had to be like, all right,
take it easy, jeez.
Yeah.
And I don't think we ever addressed to each other what are like in game, like, because we
What the
could hear
game
each other's
was.
swords, right?
Yeah.
Like we never, like, there's this weird subtext where no one can hear the other voices, and we're all having these bizarre reactions with no context. It's like around each other.
Until when was it? Once they went silent again, right?
talked
That's
about
when we talked about it with Iron Shaper, and he was like, "What?" And
Cool moment too.
yeah, that was really fun.
Yeah.
Iron Shaper 2 is such a sad boy.
I love Iron Shaper too. I
He was
love
so
that he's
sad.
just like living in the shadow of Iron Shaper 1 and there's
Of
nothing he can
himself.
do about it. Like he's like, I guess I could be this good, but I'm not.
He's really just self-defeating, honestly.
That's Anthony and Anthony's Ellatrix.
Yeah. Nice.
There's the imposter syndrome we didn't talk about last time. I get it now.
Okay, let's move on. So that's part of the
No,
same
let's
question.
not talk about feelings. Go move.
Okay, so this one was the logo always planned to represent the deep magics? I almost didn't include this question because no, not really. And it was, I think, very serendipitous and obviously, I think, a very cool moment. I think one of the coolest moments that we have in that first campaign that occurred to me about 8 seconds before we did it. And
that's so
it just like, when it happened, it just felt like, yep, I'm doing that. And I think like some of it felt, man, it was just, for a minute it felt like a little shoehorned, but then when I listened back to it, it didn't. And I think that it's just,
Also,
it's
everyone
wild.
in the Zoom was like slack-jawed, like on the ground, being like, "What?" Like,
Well, and in the moment, right? Like Anthony just told us, you need to draw a symbol. And that's all the guidance he gave Steph.
yeah,
And
he loves
so-
to give Steph not enough guidance.
Right. Like it was just, you need to draw the symbol is all he told her. And she was like, okay.
No, but he had said a staff, a sword, and a. Right.
Yeah, I think
I don't
I
remember.
think so.
No, he had said you need to draw a symbol that ties all the magics together, the fae, the whatever, the da 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 da. And you came up with the thing because you started texting me immediately, furiously. We text on our phones back and forth so that y'all don't hear the clicking of keys while we're talking.
So I think he did give me the 3 items. I had to assign magic to each of them.
what
We'll have to roll back.
it's
Yeah.
recorded, so we can
It's
check.
recorded.
Yeah.
But the important
Listeners.
thing is that our logo was done by a friend of mine named Jeff Hoffman, who did phenomenal work.
Fantastic work.
He gave us a bunch of choices, and I loved about it that it looked like a keyhole, but it also had this like magical feel to it, and it had these elements that we could play off of. And when that moment came about, and it was like, yeah, this is the space to use it. This is we can tie all of this to this symbol in a very cool way. Like it was just the right spot for it, and it just like screamed out of the ether like, hey idiot, this is the thing. So no, it was, as much as I would love to say yes, from the moment in season 2 when we picked up the new logo, this was always true. For some things that's true, like Patrick was the first time I introduced Patrick, he was the Angel of Verillion. That was always true.
Spoilers.
Yes, this is a spoiler zone. But some things are just more, I guess, special than that. And that was one of them for sure.
I mean, that's like the joy of like improv, right? Like this is constructive or collaborative storytelling, right? And like the best, most collaborative moments, and the best moments in general in improv and in this show have all been, no one actually knows what's gonna happen.
Right.
Like, no, we are just going and finding out what's happening. We're backing out of the room and we're seeing what's here. And then little do you know, oh, we killed another king. Of course we did. But like, it's always, the best moments have always been that. And that is just like the archetypal moment of it just happened, right?
Yeah.
That's the best.
So we'll jump to the next one here. What was the thought process behind making the sneak attack dice to D8s?
So big booms.
Fucking cool. That's what it was.
To me,
Moors.
yeah, certainly. Hey, Mike, did it feel cooler rolling a bunch of D8s than D6s?
Yes.
And I think ultimately, mathematically, if you figure out exactly the difference between you rolling 66 and 68, it's not much. It's 6 extra points of damage on 68 over 66 on average. And to me, things like balance, like, people doing damage, that's on me to balance on the other end, right? So if I allow you to do 1,000 damage around, and now every bad guy just has, 3,000 life, like, I mean, it's still, we're all gonna, or if I let you do 100 and they all have 300 life, it all is gonna wash out.
Design
right?
bloat.
Yeah. So for me, like, having the players get to do a thing that they want to do, that even Hero is excited about, and roll more dice and roll cool dice, and I can just handle it on my side, and it's really ultimately not even that much of an impact. Like, that is a win. That's an unequivocal win across the board for me. So that's sort of my approach to handling balance stuff like that. That's why I don't mind when the weapons get to do kind of cool things. And it's funny because I think the person I had the hardest time finding cool things for was Rob, because Rob, your character was like, you had the mechanical pathways you were looking to do, and it was hard to like penetrate that.
I mean, I did. I gave you one really cool thing, and you said no. And I will. I said, for Doonsong's final level, can it just become a sword with whatever wild shape I am in? And he said no. No.
I don't remember that, but I'm sure I had a
I can tell.
Great reason.
You wanted your animals to have a sword?
No, I wanted my giant stone sword man, just with a big old sword.
Well, you wanted to be a big sword with a sword?
No, I wanted to be an earth elemental with an earth sword. Like literal huge earth sword.
I don't know if that was conveyed appropriately. I feel like that was not conveyed.
I now see why it didn't happen. All right. No, Rob, you can't turn into a fucking sword.
That's not what I'm asking.
Wait, why was the term big sword not permitted in Twitch?
It's intuitive. It's just learning from before. Just like, when I see slippery slope.
Yeah, when we added horny sword and sword horny, that's when they were like, okay, something must be going on. Yeah.
It's like, oh no, this is okay. Okay, we can allow this.
How did Patrick become the nephew of Lady Darkheart? Great question.
Yeah.
Great question.
I've also wondered many things.
He, the Patrick that everyone knew, was not the nephew of Lady Darkheart. Lady Darkheart has a nephew named Patrick. That Patrick was not the one that got connected with Adventure Incorporated. A confusion I was very excited to have come out in game when she was introduced to Patrick at some point. Right. But then she was killed.
Oh, right.
So the way that broke down is I always knew that she was going to... I had intended for her to be a bigger part of the story for longer.
Obviously, she had a badass name, the Lady of Knives. Like, you don't just throw that away at the end of year one. Like, that's too good.
But the path that you guys chose for your ley lines dictated which elements in the world happened where. And so, like, poor Adam Vachon, who wrote the Jacques character, I was like, hey, I'm putting Jacques into the game. I don't know when they'll get to him because it all depends on which ley lines they go to when.
Last.
Like second to last, but yeah, like pretty much dead last.
The whole time. Hey man, just hang with it. I promise we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there.
Damn.
Yeah. So I mean, some of this stuff is just how it breaks down, right? So that was a I kind of think that I like to think that Patrick was very excited when she died, because like and then his cover was just full on intact. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there is a Patrick Darkheart somewhere in the world. maybe Shadow dead now. But there was a Patrick Darkheart who would have actually been her nephew, but not
Season 2.
Not that one. I don't even think they look or sound alike. Like, I think he just guessed. And
I'm a child.
Yeah.
I just did that.
I'm a real child with a name.
So we got a question before the finale, but I'm going to modify it a little bit. I want to ask guys. It's great. It's a great question so far. What do you think happens next for your characters? Like, where do you see the character to their end? We did the little epilogues, and that was kind of fun. Mikey, nope, Mikey, shh. Why don't we just go ahead and mute Mikey for this one? But you know, but where do you think your path went for your character heading out of here? You know, for whatever length of time they had left.
So are we talking before or after the epilogue? Because I think there are two, like, we get this epilogue that takes place at some indeterminate point down the line, right? I think Jennuvera's is probably the like closest to the events immediately following the end of the story. And then either Jebeddo's or Asher's is probably furthest out from the events finishing the story.
Mm-hmm.
And so
yeah,
like for Jebeddo, I think Jebeddo is definitely at the ribbon cutting ceremony. I think he is in the crowd watching. I don't think he's like standing up there like trying to be a part of it anymore. I think he is feeling very ready to be done with adventuring for the time being at that point. And I think after he goes home and starts repairing that relationship in Sale, he has those conversations that need to be had with the townspeople and starts to like find a place for himself and starts telling the story of the many pennies. That's when the idea of opening his little adventuring dojo comes from, right? And I think he does that for a few years. And then I think you see the scene where he and Penelope decide to go on the next adventure. Gnomes are special and weird in that they live a very long time.
Longer than turtles.
Much longer. Many multiples of turtle lifetimes. And so how long he adventures after and what happens after that, I'm not sure. I don't know that Jebeddo has a long time in that space, right? Of like staying put. And I don't think Penelope has a long time of adventuring, just as who she is. And so I do think eventually they go their separate ways.
What about, so I want to make very clear for the three of you, well, really for the four of you, there's a canonical answer to this, and whether or not this lines up with the canonical answer is fine, but I am curious what you feel like, the ending for your character is, and how that plays out. So Jebeddo, do you think that, like, or well, Mike,
do you think you're right?
Do you think Jebeddo, like, dies on his feet? Is he out adventuring when he kicks the bucket, or does he like what's the end for him?
Yeah, I think he comes home to die. I think he's the opposite of a dog, right? Where like, like dogs always they always say that like dogs run away to die so that nobody like finds their dead body or whatever. I think Jebeddo's the opposite. I think he comes home
right in the town square, puts his arms out.
Honestly, like I think part of it in my head, Jebeddo
He died doing what he died how he lived publicly.
I think Gebetto returns home, tells all the stories from the second go around of adventures that he has, and then dies that night.
Sure. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
So-
in somebody like Captain Hygiene says in chat, in the prankiest location, like he definitely dies. Like if there's a fountain that's been erected to commemorate like the memory of, you know, all these tragedies, guaranteed he died there. Like that's where it happened. He curls up and dies in the memory fountain, and he hopes that there's a curse rumor, right? That like the fountain's cursed now with the ghost of Gebetto Funk and Once You Stumble, Shadow Walker, Knuckle Timber Shivers.
What about Asher?
I mean, I think Asher, he's like, you know, he just goes back to Paraneth to like try and reassimilate with this tribe who was like who wanted it anyways, right? Like we got a little bits of that where he was like, we're roaming, we're not roaming, we can be a nation, we cannot. But I think like, I don't know if it's true, but I'd like to imagine since he's now, I guess, a mendicant, poor guy. I like to think that the way, like the mechanics of that, and there's some sort of cosmology answer that Anthony has, is that like part of that is his power and his connection to the Sylvan and like all of that stuff gets sort of absorbed into Virillion, and it was like a purposeful move on Virillion's part to be like, the freaking Tezcatlipoca woke up this person because they were like, we need this, and then we're like, but we don't know for what. So he was just like, that seems like an important thing to have, and that sort of, he kind of, when you become a mendicant, you become more faceless and become more assimilated in that I like to think that it's sort of a melting pot where he kind of his self melts into other parts of the mendicants as well. So, because I mean, Asher's is very straightforward. He just goes. He made a deal with Virillion. I mean, not really. I mean, he did, but
He
still.
did. What do you mean, not really? You
Was a
legit
promise.
said to a god, "I promise to follow you if you give me what I want," and then miraculously, you fucking got it.
Biggest
still my
fucking
favorite.
miracle we saw.
Like,
That was one of my favorite moments of the entire fucking campaign. And,
Honestly, I think my favorite moment from that whole thing is when Virillion comes to collect.
I know it's
Like-
insane.
Your reaction in the recording was fucking amazing.
I love it because you're like, oh yeah, no, I know what he's here for. Here's your coin, buddy. And he's like, yeah, no.
Yeah.
So it was like, as he was walking to Asher, I was like, this isn't good. But I haven't quite figured out what it is. And then, so I was like, well, Asher's dumb. Let's just play up the dumb. And it just he's like,
It just
damn
kept
it!
not being good.
I was right.
How about you, Steph?
I think the epilogue is very kind of straightforward and long lasting. I think that she eventually like runs the library at Adventure Incorporated, and that's kind of like what she does until she dies.
She's the High Queen of New Merida.
You heard me. She runs the library at Adventure Incorporated until she dies. But I do think that that's an interesting, like, Jennuvera has zero interest in politics. Like, she does not. She wants.
She's all about the titles.
Yeah,
wants
she's
the
all about
title.
the titles. She's all about the carriages. She's all about.
Don't even get me started. She wants the title. She loves the idea of the title. That is something that, like, and I think when you're someone who grows up with fairy tales and books, like, you don't no books talk about like the friggin' like, oh, here's all the work you have to do every day as a king. They're just like, dang, look, it's a princess. And so, like, I think that's what she wants. Like, this is exactly, she wants to sit in her, Chamber of Books and be the queen and be with Clyde, and like that's her dream life, and I think she gets it.
I think she gets it.
Hey, what
At
happens?
least twice.
What? Ayo.
You're welcome.
They have 2 kids. It's because they have 2 kids.
Yeah.
I needed
Proof.
you to know that's true.
Oh, I thought it was because you were queen twice.
What happens to Keth, Mikey?
Yeah.
He's so bored.
How many times has he read the book Jennuvera gave him?
A billion. He loves it, and was yeah, he knows exactly where it is. No, so I'm terrified about what happens to Keth, because he being super strong, yeah, he's awesome, right? But like also he's like so cracked, and he has all these aspects in him. He's so easily kind of, I don't know, his brain's easily manipulated, and so he can go in like so many different directions that I just am terrified he's just going to be corrupted, and the Shadow Lord's just going to be able to use him as a conduit, and just we're going to have to fight him. I don't want to fight him.
Like the
What
end
did you-
of the first Diablo. Like,
What did
know
you
what I mean?
want before the finale? What did you want Keth's ending to be?
Ooh.
No, good question. Great question.
Thank
Great
you.
question.
Thank you. First time caller.
I was excited to pursue the Keth becoming an orc god thing. He wasn't in touch with his people since he was in the Orc War, but he wanted to go back, study that, and figure out how to just ascend to that in a way to help people in general, but his people as well, to like not make the same mistakes of the past, to learn from everything that they've been through, and kind of have that knowledge encapsulated forever. So he wanted to do that. He wanted to honor Evian and clean up Perneth. He promised her he would do that. Yeah. I don't know if that that direction that took, but yeah, those two, one was a personal, one was kind of for her, and I guess learn about a stupid vampire thing he had to deal with. Ugh.
Well,
I was super excited about that. That was great. I'm excited.
the status of Keth is that's gonna have to listen and find out on that one. So
Yeah, I know. I'll have to also listen.
One of the things I love about where Keth wound up is that, something that we sort of created as a means for you while you were going through doctor school, and your schedule was very volatile. And we created as a means for you to be able to participate when you could, and not be beholden to have to be there, or us not to be beholden to have to like wrangle you in. Really wound up being like a huge element to the character long term. And I think that was very cool that you were able to assimilate a lot of what I basically put in as a failsafe for when you couldn't be there, which we only really had to pull the trigger on like twice, I think. But that was, I think it was cool how you were able to incorporate that.
Yeah. So I think a lot of us have recorded in some interesting places because we just wanted to make the recording work, and it's like, oh, we don't want to miss this. Yeah, y'all never got to hear the audio when I recorded in the hotel lobby in the Dominican Republic.
Oh yeah,
with
forgot about
customers, with motorcycles, with dogs in the street. Just like, it was rough. I recorded on my iPhone, so somehow that didn't make it into the final cut. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know
wild.
why.
That was.
Yeah.
Season 2 audio much better.
I don't know. Even if I used this equipment in that same hotel lobby, it would sound much better. So
Yeah.
Sure.
This is a question for me, but I'll probably bounce
Wait.
it. Go ahead.
You said there's a canonical answer
Yes.
to what our what happened to our characters after the fact.
Yes.
Go on.
Listen and find out. So what? So one of the things I'm really loving about building out this world is that there is a history to this world now that we have already established. And then for the new season, there's going to be some time that has passed and a history that has occurred in the world in the time in between. And part of season 2 will be unlocking and uncovering and discovering some of the history that has happened between these 2 points in time that I think is going to be a lot of fun to explore. So, we're seeding stuff. There's stuff for the future. Stuff's coming. And it's going to be fun.
Wow.
Wowzers.
So we got a question here for me.
I can't believe. Time out. You mean to tell me we played these characters for 5 fucking years only for you to end up railroading us in the end anyway?
We played these characters for 5 years so that they would be a prologue for these next characters. That's how important these next characters are.
You know how that's worse, right? You know why that's worse.
Oh, that's great.
No, that's good. I'm glad for that. I needed a 5-year warm up to learn how to play D&D.
Honestly, yeah.
Just think, by the time season 2's over, y'all might get it.
Yeah, you might get.
I don't know if I change classes at all, I'm not gonna get it. Relearn everything over again. It's...
Honestly, though, like that, if we hadn't done so many Patreon episodes, same. Because getting to play a different class each month, I actually learned a little bit about what other classes do. And I was like, because every time we do a Patreon episode and I'm a new character, I'm like, I don't know how to play this game.
Sure.
It's true.
I'm just gonna improv, and if Anthony asks for a number, I'll figure it out then.
This question is for me. What magic item were you most excited about the party getting that they immediately forgot they had?
Wow.
I'm guessing is the face of the mask of illusion. That's my guess.
Hey, we used that once.
One time.
Dehydration thing.
You used it to get through a town undetected.
Oh, we used it twice then.
Worked.
What was the other time you used it?
I used it to threaten Horton.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I used it to remind Horton that if he weren't around, it wouldn't necessarily be the end of things for us.
That's right. Which is a great use of such an object. This is a good question. I think probably there were a few times very early on they got some dust of dryness. That I think was they used some of it just to use it, just to say they did. And then I was like, okay, I want to include some stuff where water is an issue and they could use the dust of dryness to solve this very quickly. And that didn't happen.
Nope. The room is flooding. You're drowning. What do you do?
I swim real hard, Anthony. I swim real hard.
Okay. All right. You know what? Fine.
I pull out a straw and I start sucking, Anthony.
I'm going to look at my character sheet. What do I have here? I guess I make an athletics check.
You haven't given us any magic items at all, and I'm drowning.
Yeah.
I'm going to wait for God to save me.
Okay, let's see. This one says, how close did the story wind up being in the end to the initial conception of it? I would say that my initial conception of the story was a skeleton. And if
Very spooky.
Ooh, it's a horror game.
And if you think of it that way, that it was a skeleton, I would say we were pretty close to the same bone structure. Some things changed along the way, and ultimately the meat of the show, the interaction between the characters and the world and the decisions that were made, those I couldn't account for. But in terms of the broad strokes plot line about Gorm and seeking to find the ley lines to shut down, to stop Gorm's power, to buy time, to find ways to defeat him, that all was pretty solidly on there. I think that the stuff with the Shadow Lord toward the end didn't come into play until like 3 years in, where
because of Mikey.
because of Mike.
Yeah, Mike.
When your players tell you that they feel like someone is a bigger and bad guy, maybe they're right. So
I'm sorry.
No, you were right. You were right. So, I mean, that's something that came a little bit later, but the general like shape of the story happened not how I didn't like write it out and plan it, but how I expected it to.
Shut up, Captain
My
Hydrogen.
knife.
My knife. So fucking good. I stopped listening because I was. Oh. So, real talk. The reason we never went the botched route. I know this isn't on the Q&A. The reason we never went the botched route and decided to live stream our game.
This is on
exactly
the Q&A.
that.
Hold on, stop. This is on the Q&A.
Oh, but it's exactly too late. It's exactly that. It's we can't not pay off a joke like my knife. Like there's just not a way for us not to react to it.
I think that's one reason why we don't do it, and I think the other reason is that it gets very difficult to. One of the things that I think this show, especially, you can kind of get to it in your own time. If you miss a couple weeks, it stacks up, and you can binge a few of them and get caught up. And it's easy to, if you can't listen on Monday when it drops, you can listen Tuesday or whatever, and still be a part of the community with that. And with live recordings, if you miss one, you're in a lot of trouble. It's hard to get caught up.
It's why a lot of people drop off of like Critical Role, which is still like the most popular one. Is like if you miss a session, if you miss a recording, you've missed 5 hours of content, and you are out of the loop, right?
So I don't think we'll ever take this version of the main show to a live place. One shots and our live shows that we do, I think are great for a live format, but I don't think it works for what we do on the main show. Mm-hmm. So you'll just have to keep waiting for release day till those things come hit your feeds.
Sorry, what were you saying before my knife?
I was
he was
done.
describing how
it was fine.
If he had planned the bone structure of a chicken, it became a dinosaur.
Got it.
Same general bone structure, but like
bigger and better.
Bigger, meatier.
Yes.
A lot more aggressive.
Very, very aggressive. Very aggressive.
What about y'all? Like, what was, for the rest of us, what were y'all's expectations when we went into this of this story and where it ended up?
That is a good question.
Session 1, but for personal reasons I couldn't. That was my first expectation.
And you failed to meet it.
I did.
Wow.
So similarly.
I 100% didn't expect to I expected us to be like, yeah, we're starting a D&D podcast, we're doing it for a year, people will get bored, whatever. It'll just fall off. And then it just became such a key part of my life that I never expected any of this, if I'm being honest, because this is also the longest I've ever played a D&D campaign. The second longest was Anthony's other game, who I shoehorned my old character in to as Rikus. So it became it just was like it was such a journey of I don't know what's gonna happen, and that's why I kind of loved it. Because I expected we were going to play D&D the way I normally play D&D, which is, let's play D&D. I'm bored.
Let's do anything else.
That's it.
Yeah.
Over several months. Did you guys bring I brought a cheese plate this time. Sweet. You always have that one guy who brings fruit, and you're ugh, fruit. But then you're eating fruit during the session, and you're like, this is actually better than Cheetos. You're right. I don't feel bloated and gross.
Keep going on this one because I am curious.
Yeah.
Mikey, how about you?
Yeah. My frame of reference for this genre, just medieval fantasy, is LARPing. I played the same character. I think it was like 10, 11 years, and like so we would have these big events and big fights on Saturday night. So I basically thought our D&D campaign would just be a lot of building up to the big fights, but like a lot of big fights, where there was like a lot of rituals we'd have to do and a lot of these mods. I don't know. I kind of just pictured it would be like a LARP weekend, and then it just kept going, and we were just chatting and like improving and like doing all these small things and like building a story. So I'd never done something like that. And yeah, I did not even try and think about where it was going to go. Like I heard about Gorm and I was like, yeah, that's the big bad. And I never thought anything otherwise. And I think that's why I built that into Keth too. And he set himself up to be so disappointed when that was not the big bad. So that worked out great. So it was like,
it was like, we just got to get to the end.
Yeah, that was it.
Gorm.
We're done. But yeah. So it was a I don't know, just such a rewarding journey.
When did you realize it wasn't going to be build up to big fight, and like this kind of slower build?
I think when we didn't have a big fight after the first like 30 recording sessions.
It took me a while, but I got there.
Just hadn't rolled a dice in a while, and I was just like, oh, okay, it's just chatting. We're just telling stories.
The funny thing is when Mikey and I were playing the same LARP, I was going on plenty of mods like this. And Mikey would be like, "Are we fighting anything?" I'm good. Yeah. I think LARPing differently down the road, I think, is what will happen. But I'm curious, what this would have been like if we had done it in person. But I don't know, because I've never played in person. So this is literally our format that we've been doing for the last 5 years. So I don't know. It probably just would have been more distracted, honestly.
Yeah.
Steph, so you had no frame of reference for D&D coming into this. What were your like? Yes, go ahead.
Like, I had no frame of reference for the game, but I feel like the way our story turned out was far more what I wanted and what my expectations were for high fantasy game, because for me it's novels and it's books, and everything is deep lore and sad, and everyone's dying, everyone's crying, and you love these characters and you can't get away from them. So like, well, I had no frame of reference. Like, the story that we told is a story I would read. And so like, if you look at the backstory that I sent to Anthony, before we started this, it's like peak baby's first young adult literature book.
Yeah, YA. It's like if you Google YA story and then hit enter and then just Control-C, Control-V.
Right. But I mean, that's what it is. And that's the story that I love, is I love, like flawed heroes who have to go out into a world they've never experienced before. I love the hero's journey. It's very much a part of who like I am as a storyteller. And so that's it.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I wanted. So like for y'all, you had the experience of playing D&D or LARPing and hanging out and it being like a social thing. I was like, I am acting. This is a chance to tell us that story. Like, I love this.
Sure.
And like, so yeah, that's, I think my expectations for the story of it. Besides, like, when we said we're going to stop Gorm so he doesn't wake up the giant shadow dragon, and then we woke up the giant shadow dragon guy, like, that aside.
To be fair, that was not my expectation either.
Yeah,
you can't put it there and expect us not to do it.
It's Chekhov's God.
I thought, honestly, even up until the moment when it happened, I was like, they'll probably fight Mercus on this. He's big dumb Mercus. Like, they'll just find another way. No.
Yeah. So this was exactly what I wanted.
Mercus was right. That's our next t-shirt.
Mercus was right.
That's a deep cut X-Men reference.
That's a good one, though.
For me, when I proposed that we play a D&D game, it was not, hey, what if we expose some of your deepest, darkest weaknesses and like sensitive sore spots for the world to hear, Mike? That was not where I thought we were going with this. I didn't think we were going to have to deal with parents dying and like me having to come to terms with that all over again after I had been ignoring it successfully for so long. I didn't think we were going to have to come to terms with heroes going through imposter syndrome while I was dealing with going through imposter syndrome at my job. I didn't think we were going to have to deal with the loss of family while I was dealing with my sister passing. Like, there was a lot in this show that mirrored a lot of the shit that was happening in my life. I told Anthony when we started, I just want to do something light and silly. I'm going to play the comic relief. Like, I'm just going to take it easy. I'm going to kick it in the back. Mikey like has been going to LARPs forever. Josh and Rob have been playing D&D forever. Like, I know Rob, like right now can't be the leader of a party, but I have no doubt in my mind, just like based on the way that I've seen him at LARPs, that Mikey could do it. I have no doubt in my mind that Josh could do it. I'm just going to hang back. Anthony looked at me dead in the face and said, your character will lead this party. Oh, Steph, you
didn't think that I could lead this party?
You were half a foot in, if even. Like, you were like,
That is true.
I can show up that one day. Yeah.
I did not want
all?
to do this. And when I say I did not want to do this, I meant I had zero interest in playing D&D, which is because I had no context for what D&D was. I had zero context. I did not want to play Dungeons and Dragons. No interest in it. But what I did want to do was hang out with these buffoons.
Date Mike.
Once. That's not even true. If you had asked me on that day.
Oh yeah, I'll do it.
There are people who like for
fucking
10
Geralt
years
of Rivia
were
right
like,
there.
oh, you're gonna date Mike Ellison again, and I was like, he's the one person on this planet I will never date again.
Oopsies.
Let's go, boys.
Ring a ding ding.
But like no, but I wanted
sailed.
to hang out with these dummies. And so like I probably one of the things I'm most thankful for is that I did say yes, because like yeah, like my
sure
dad
you
was- I had
Same. But like, real talk, I thought we would play a month. I thought we would get through 4 recordings and be like, you know what? But Anthony was right. We had a download from someone that we didn't know.
That day was so cool because we were like, who is this person?
Who is this that we don't know that is listening to our show? And then like a bunch of people that we had never met started listening to our show. They started telling us on Twitter that they liked us making Dune references. They started telling us like,
oh god,
the things that we were doing wrong as far as the rules, which to me
was all of them. It turns out.
yeah, like but I love that, like, oh my god, someone's listening, like now we're in, baby. Like I guess I'm in till the end now. I can't let down, you know, like at the time it was like I can't let down Captain Hygiene. He's a stranger, he listens to the show. Like, what about him? You know, like...
Yeah, I mean, in terms of expectation of the show, I was terrified of that outcome, right? Because every D&D game I've ever played, the second longest game I've ever played was the one Rob mentioned, where we were a captive audience in college, couldn't go anywhere else. They'd be like, "Hey, we're not doing anything. Let's play D&D." And I think we still
we're
only
gonna get
did
bugged
like...
by the cop who would always come in and be like, "Hey, what are you guys doing? Can I play D&D with you?" We're like,
Like,
"No,
no. And I think we did like, and then I became that guy. You know,
You did.
That's-
I didn't want to say it.
became-
I didn't want to
You
say
became
that.
hot cop.
not that one.
No, look at
No,
him.
not hot cop. Can confirm not hot cop.
Ugh.
Also,
So-
what I love about college, by the way, is for the folks that did not go to Framingham State College in Framingham, Massachusetts, from the years 2006 to 2009 ish.
Mike's slogan at that year was "Yay college, no parents." So
Yep.
that's what the answer is going to be.
That's when I went, 2006 to 2009. So it's all about me. There were two hot cops. There was a lady hot cop and there was a dude hot cop. There
I
were
was
two
neither.
of them. Like there was a hot cop for everybody, is what I'm trying to say.
You're a hot cop to at least one person, or we're a hot cop. To at
Anthony,
least one
yeah, like let me tell you something, bud. I've been around the block long enough to know everybody's somebody's hot cop.
But I was terrified of the outcome in which we just stopped playing, because that's pretty much every D&D campaign. And I didn't really, I had hoped that this would be different, but at the time I was doing the podcast with my brother, the Brothers of Discussion, where we were talking about wrestling. I was like, well, we'll just leverage this into something else, right? We'll just use them. I already got the equipment. Let's make it happen. And it was really, I'm very, very glad that we were able to keep this going beyond really any reasonable expectation.
For sure.
Because it's been really special. Okay. Let's see. What did the players do that's most surprised you overall? I would say there have been several moments where I have been very surprised by the actions of the players. And I think every player did things that surprised me at different times. I think as a group, the thing that surprised me overall most, and maybe just because it was most recent, but was Waking Hayrix. I really was not expecting that to happen.
I didn't expect us to do that.
But then in the moment, like I fucking hell no. Like I was so hard against everything Herrick's, like playing all the way through it. But then in the moment, the only answer was Waking Herrick's to me.
Yeah. We need everyone. I remember that moment and I was like, oh,
Yeah, it was
damn it.
okay.
Like
Okay.
it felt like so much of what we had done up to that point had been like, oh, we think we're doing this, but are we right? And like, what a beautiful thing to be like, no, we weren't before, but
Or
we
was
have
right
the
our
chance to be
second try.
now. Yeah.
Yeah. I loved how it played out. I loved how I love the that I love the like irony of it, right? We just spent 4.5 years keeping this guy asleep. Now we're gonna wake his ass up. Oh, but it was just really special, and I think there are moments throughout this that really surprised me. You know, Gebeddo killing the Cardozas was something that was a moment where I remember being like, I didn't expect it to go this way. It makes sense that it went this way. I see why it went this way, and I think it's very cool. But my expectation was it wasn't going to go that way. And like he shuts the door and just like fucking murders them all. Like, yeah. Oh, totally.
Yeah. Like to me, that wasn't like there was no other way that moment was going down. That was Gebeddo's like, God, that was 12 years in the making for him or whatever, right? Like,
right.
Yeah.
He was Inigo Montoya at that point, like,
and it was perfect. So for you four, what were the moments that things other players did that surprised you?
When Asher killed Braz.
yes.
Yes. I was surprised by
Really?
that also.
I was so surprised by that.
The build up to it was so like, oh, I'm gonna leave it to Chance, and then Chance gave him the chance to like think it through, right? Like you got the pause time spell or whatever.
Yeah.
And so Chance was like, no, it's on you, dude.
And I was like, and I think in that moment, it was a little bit of it was Asher, but it was also like a little bit of like me in that, and I think a lot of people do this where you walk yourself away from a choice you don't want to make because you don't want to make the harder choice, and you know it's the better choice, and you're like, I don't want to do this, and Time was like, no, you gotta think about it. What's the only thing you're thinking about doing right now? And I was like, you're right. Here we go. And it just felt right. It felt correct. And it also felt like, holy shit, I can't believe I just did this. It felt right for the character, and it felt scary. It was wild. That whole arc was wild.
Yeah. That to me was one of the biggest surprises. That was like a real holy shit moment. Also, Gillick's dark turn was like such a powerful choice. It shaped so much of the game. Like watching, because when we talked about character building, right? The character that like Josh had presented us was a guy who was like balls deep in the Divine Court. Like here is a dude. He puts on his Divine Court underoos before putting on his Divine Court hoodie to go like to the Divine Court and cheer them on while they do anything. And then to watch that character get morphed and pulled and twisted by the shadow, like that to me was the scariest part of the whole game is like shadow corrupts, and here's proof. Like that was the biggest oh my god for everything.
Also, when Mikey killed Uthral.
That's the one that I was gonna say. Mikey killing Uthral was brutal. Because I in my brain, I don't think Keth killed Uthral. I think Mikey killed Uthral. Okay. No.
Yeah. I didn't want to be. I feel like I was going to bring that up too, because I just couldn't get past anything like that. Because it's if you told me that Keth did that prior to that moment, then I wouldn't have believed it, because it just would have been like, no, he would have found.
No, he would never do that.
He just would have stopped the relation, whatever the like stimulus that made him do that. He would have just stopped it and been able to withdraw from that. It kind of goes back to the Keth believing. I mean, I kind of explained this in game, I think, but maybe not fully. Just like fighting so hard for this end. Gorm is the end. This ceremony, we have to stop it, or there is no or, right? Like there is only this, and then we're done. So no matter what, Keth is going to stop this being, this Gorm. And Uthral was being used in the ceremony. I thought, if I cut Gorm off from this stone, they do not have this magic, I can save the world. I can end this. We can be done. We can go home. We can be done. Like it was just that moment of desperate hope that this was it. And he did anything he could. And yeah, it felt real weird. It felt awful, but it was what Keth.
But it was so purposeful a choice. Yeah.
So at the same time as what surprised me about it is not that Keth did it. Because I think Keth doing it is exactly in line with the character. It makes perfect sense in the moment for him to have done it. It was how quickly you decided and said it and leaned into it. Like you committed harder than like almost anything else on the show to that moment. And it was just.
Well, like if we look at a track, like that's Mikey as a player, is he makes decisions and says them. And that is so like, I have so much envy of that. Like, yeah, that's my play cave. Hell yeah, it is. Now it is.
Even play cave aside, the fact that he like makes a choice like I'm into fashion, like, and that's an aspect of the character, and
that never gets dropped ever again. Like, it's impressive, right?
I think we got to know like this game, each other, and our characters, and just kind of we all were able to lean in and just this is what needs to happen. It's almost like it played out. A lot of stuff that we did, I think all of our characters did, kind of it's just like, this is what had to have happened, of course. And it was less of a thinking thing for all of us in the moment, our decisions. So it was just so fun to experience that also from everyone else. And yeah, living it, it made sense in the moment, but I don't know. But yeah, I think all of us were able to do stuff like that.
That's another example of like, why did we decide that the symbol of Adventure Inc. was all of the symbols of magic? We didn't think, we just did, and it just happened. And that's like been these, like, the things that have surprised me have made the most sense and have been like the best, because people just go, yes, this is true, and it's just perfect.
Bean just asked a question in the chat, which I was about to address anyway, so now is a perfect time to bring it up. He asks, was the plan always to kill Evian before Asher named the sword, or was that solely due to the name?
It's totally my fault. I know that's fucking my fault.
Yeah, there was never an intention to kill the wielder of the blade until the sword was named Kingslayer. And then once it was named Kingslayer, it was like, well, this is it. This is happening, I guess. No, I had a bunch of plans of ways I was going to use Evian in season 2 because she was immortal.
Rob, I'm so mad that you took that from me. How
Eat my fuck. I don't care.
could you take that from you?
She was the best, and I feel bad, but like also that was just Asher being like, "Where's vomit?"
That was a move that surprised the hell out of me, because we had spent so long prepping for this meeting. Like, as players, the four of us had we had talked through everything that we were going to do. Like, I know we joked about the magic slideshow, but like, we had spent enough time prepping for that meeting that I could have made an actual regular real slideshow, not as a joke. So when we're going through this prepared presentation and Rob just says shit.
me playing Asher is actively trying to just turn off my filter as much as possible, because it leads to moments like that, but B, that's the character. He's the impulsive, angry guy, right?
Turn your filter on for season 2.
I'm trying.
But how
spoilers.
How perfect was that from a story, like living that from like removing myself from a character in the game, just being like, of course, like the wielder of this be all end all weapon in this be all end all battle. I thought it was perfect.
I have a legitimate follow-up question to that, Mikey. This goes for everyone. How do you remove yourself from a character?
Oh, it's easy. It's a Keth move. It's like a
Yeah, you just turn your brain off.
So I am such a fan of y'all. Like this is like sappy, but like just experiencing this from a listener, a viewer, and even when we're recording, like I'm watching the show happen. Like I'm seeing a story play out, and then I get to jump in with one. Like I think there's a cool idea that I wish was in the show. It's like that's almost how I view this. And that's kind of it. So it just I sat back and I'm like, yeah, of course, that's great. And then when I re-listened to it, it was perfect, because this is the end. Gorm is the end. So
listeners, this is true. We constantly off air are reminding Mikey that he's part of the show.
Yeah.
Like there are a handful. Dude, you're in the cast. Like
follow-up question.
I think you have it wrong, Tiger Shady. I don't have a problem existing in a character. I'm asking how to then step away from that.
How to not be the character.
How do you?
Sure.
I mean, there have been recording sessions where I am upset, like long after the recording session, because I made a bad decision. There have been times before recording sessions where I've had to tell myself, this is a game. Like, I've literally, seriously, like literally tell myself. And again, I think that's someone who grew up in a world of fiction, like as me, not as Jennuvera. Like books are my life.
Yeah.
I can't. So when a fictional character dies, like I feel it deeply. It's why Mike makes fun of me for watching Doctor Who. Like I feel fiction in my heart.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be good, y'all.
It doesn't even have to be good. And that's fair. But like I don't know how, especially living in a character for 5 years. Like it's so hard for me. I know that's like unhealthy on like a lot of different levels, but like
I was gonna recommend talking to a professional if you struggle with that. But
I've said this I'm pretty sure I've said this to the cast, but like I may have said this on stream, I don't remember, but like I don't think I can either. Like me with the characters, they're like, when I play characters, they're just an inflated part of my personality. Like Asher is my impulsive emotional side. Bandy was my anxiety personified. And just like I play myself, but make that one bright shiny thing bright, and then kind of go from there. So I don't think I can, because all of my characters are some version of me, right? Jebeddo is some version of Mike, Keth is some version of Mike, and and Jennuvera is some version of Steph, right? So I don't know if it's unhealthy. I just think it's impossible. So that's my thought.
Yeah, I think the thing that I have to remember is that like stories are good when bad things happen to good people, and then they overcome them. And so much of year 2, 3, 3.5, 4-ish was me looking at Anthony and saying, "Can something good happen now?"
And I kept telling him like, no, like we're, this is how this works. Like you got to have things to fight against. You have to have struggles before you can overcome them. Like someday. Yeah, but no.
Mike, you got about 90 seconds in the last episode for you to have accomplished things and gotten past things. So
Yeah.
that was your reward.
Yeah.
Too bad Mike didn't get those, but the rest of you did.
Yep.
He accomplished something.
Ever. It's all right. I was being a fan at that point. I was back here.
What is, for each of you, what is the proudest moment or the most defining moment for you as a player over the course of this storyline?
Repeat that. I'm sorry.
Your proudest moment or your most defining moment over the story. It's for me also. I think truly I am proud of the whole thing front to back, start to finish. Like
Cop out.
1 to 260 is I think I just can't imagine a way that this could have gone like better, right? I'm just like so proud of the whole thing overall. For you guys, I am most proud of episode 200. I think that the Lich fight is like a perfect episode. It's a perfect encounter. It comes right at the spot of transition from getting hammered for 4 years and then being able to step forward and like start to do like fix shit. And it comes in the right spot for that. And it is just like such an unequivocal win almost. And still has interesting things spill out of it that it's really, I think, one of my favorite moments in the show.
I think I'm proud of the entire show. I think the arc that I am still most proud of, and like we joke about it because Asher keeps bringing it up, was still the necromancy arc. I think that was the coolest. That was like when Asher became like more than one-track mind because he was forced to, and it was cool to be slowed down so much for a character who doesn't live that way to then consider, like, basically really take that in stride and take everything and be like, what does it mean to die? Like, what does it mean to just end? And like, is it better that you're going to be part of the world? Like, that seems like a good thing, but are you okay with that? And these are things that Asher, who like I think believed in in theory. But having to have this very impulsive character confront something slow and true and scary, that arc I still think hits really cool, and is really, really cool to listen to. I think someone in Discord was like mentioning like, wow, this is, other than Rob's mic quality, this is great. And that's one that I'm just like really proud of.
For me, it's the Path of Enchantment.
Yeah.
Start to finish, I think that's like our, like if you've got one arc to define our show, that's the one, I think. Like we start off piling on Steph, just killing one of our own, right? With like making it worse. We build out a world where there's a rival pizza gang that is entirely manufactured. We meet an NPC that has a different relationship with every one of the cast, or every one of the main characters. We like, oh my God, it just, every bit of it hits. There's a fucking kraken in it.
Yeah.
There's a shipwreck. We're betrayed. We have a big emotional conversation with someone that we thought was an ally. Like, there's so much in it. There's a stupid fucking turtle bit where the turtle talks forever and says nothing. Like, there's just so much that's so quintessentially our show in that one arc, right? It's like everything. And I think that was when, like, I think before then we had found our way. I fucking hope so. That was like episode 180 or something. But like, it's just so us. That set of episodes is like, it's 20 or so episodes of peak Adventure Incorporated.
Yeah, it's very much where we found our voice.
Or like, just like, it's a perfect representation of it, whether we found it earlier or later or whatever. Sure. But like, that's it. And like, by that point, all our audio quality is like mostly pretty good. Like, feels really good.
I still think of the scene where like the guy, like the pizza, walking from one pizza to the other pizza shop, and someone just
slaps it out of his hand.
The next question is, are the rumors true that First Pizza and Original Pizza are actually the same food?
Wow, listen and find out.
Yeah.
Mikey, what about you?
Yeah.
On the first question, not the pizza one.
I was super proud of us coming together as a cast and just we're telling this story together sort of thing. Is when, like, in Shadow and Bone and the Odds and End arcs. Exactly. So where the Lich came and fought Adventure Incorporated to grab his phylactery, and we had huge character deaths, and we all felt them and mourned them, and it became real. It was like, we're in this together, like as a cast who are playing this game, but also as our characters who are living this adventure. So I was just super proud of just everybody's commitment to that piece and just defending our home and failing, essentially. Yeah, that was a cool, proud moment.
That was like when the show became like, oh, we're doing something. This is gonna last for a while.
I am also proud of any time Steph cries.
It's so
Why
much.
would you be
Proud so often?
It feels like a really
easy.
dumb thing for you to be proud of.
He really is, Ellatrix. Look at him.
Like an asshole.
He's constantly proud of himself about this.
My answer is kind of close to Mike's in terms of like what I felt it did tonally for our show, and that was when we split the party, and I got Gillick dead.
Oh yeah,
because there was, and it's like a minute-long moment, right? Like and that might just be my memory, but like we come back together. You guys are all jazzed. You were successful. You had fun. You wore clothes.
We had a little
did
like,
all of this.
yeah, we were hype as hell. Like, we're at 11.
You're at here. I'm at here, and then Redbridge comes in and says we have an emergency, and like we had no time to process any of it.
Yeah.
So we never
No.
got each other's stories in those moments, and we never like, and they're so like just the here to here to here to here, and like that frustration and that like just
Momentum.
the fact that everything kept piling on and the momentum of it. Yeah, like that I think for me, and like I don't know, like proudest moment is hard for that, but like I think that's one of my favorite, like out of, I don't know, like most memorable. Or
I like that as you told that story, you're like, you know what? I actually hated that moment. Forget this.
No, I did. I hated that moment. Like, but I felt like we were all so in ourselves and in our characters, including Anthony as Redbridge being in that role of like, sorry guys, but I just felt like we, and so yeah, I guess proud is the right word, because like we were living this experience of like highs and lows, and that's life, baby.
I got a question here that says, does Clyde continue to advance in his DMing career?
Certainly not. After that.
I think if we ever did those, like if we had continued to do those, it would have been a different DM every time. I love the idea of having a different NPC come and run the Caverns and Chimeras game, and getting to see different, like, what different NPCs would build for a world that the Many Plenties would play their characters in.
Many plenties?
Many Plenties.
Manty Planties.
But yes, obviously. He writes 5 campaigns he never plays again.
Yeah, that tracks.
Yep.
In chat, we had a question. How many times have the PCs died in total? And Steph said Jen is the only one who has died 0 times. Not true. Jen killed herself. I mean, she was reliving a memory of Gorm. But she died as fuck.
Listen.
That honestly is one of my favorite favorite of those moments that Steph was talking about, where like, oh my god, I fucked up, I did the wrong thing, I don't know, like, y'all, we recorded these one-on-one episodes back to back to back, like for those episodes, and Steph comes running out of the room after her session with Anthony before I go in. I fucked the whole thing up, I don't know. And like, she threw herself on the bed, slammed the door behind her. Like, it was an ordeal. So I come into my recording with Anthony.
Please remember how good of a storyteller Mike is.
I come into
moment.
I come into the meeting with Anthony. I'm like, what did you do to her?
I was like, nothing. I can't tell you because you can't know what happened. Let's go. Like,
Okay, Redbridge. Okay.
And it was like, it was just such a strange experience, because for mine, I was like, oh yeah, no, it was fun. I got to understand where he came from.
Yeah, the freaking what Asher becomes, mendicant. The mendicant scenes were the same way, because like Mike was in here for like 30 seconds and then he was done.
Oh, the trial to become mendicant.
Who should die to keep going. Mike was in here for like 30 seconds. I think Rob's was like 30 seconds.
Mine was like 2 seconds. Yeah, I was like, I'm done.
And I was like 10 minutes.
Obviously.
And I was in here for so long that Anthony sent me away. He's like, we have recording to get to. Do you want to go think about it?
And I'll record other people's, and then you can come back and we can finish.
So she like takes forever, and then she goes away. Like, she comes into the other room and she's like, oh, this is so hard. And
I
then
didn't give you any clues.
That's all she said. It's like, this is really fucking hard. I was like, okay. And I come in and Anthony asks me the questions and I knock them out. And I'm like, babe.
Uh,
Easy.
So good.
Ask us another question, Anthony.
Is there any significant choice your character made that you wish you could go back and do differently?
Kingslayer, next question.
Rob's got one in the bank.
Not kidding.
Nope.
I think I would have started with Monk at the beginning.
I think I would have started with Fully Druid. I agree.
Yeah, I think that character, like Keth, growing away from his orcish background into that kind of it makes sense to me, but also feel like he's been doing he had already been doing some of that, so I don't know. And it would have been fun from a player standpoint too to have a consistent.
I should have given you guys a magic item that would have let you change your class at any time.
Oh, you did. We used it 3 years after the fact.
Yeah.
We were saving it for Josh.
Oh,
Just in
true.
case.
Oopsies.
I wish Gebeddo had kept up the wizard bit. I really liked the wizard bit. I thought the
That was a
wizard
good
bit
bit.
was fun. And then I just
Not
kind of
actual magic.
right. Yeah. Once I got magic, he didn't want to be a wizard anymore. It was very strange. Like it was like, oh, I can do this.
Now it's
Okay.
boring.
Yeah. Which honestly, I guess like also pays off, right? Like that's a pretty good bit too. To like, oh, now I'm a wizard.
Steph's
But,
like,
like,
I
that's-
just
I don't
lived
know.
it.
I mean, there are so many moments where I'm like, fuck. I should have done something different. But then like, this is a really shitty cop-out answer. Like I can say the same thing about my life, but I'm so happy with where I've ended up. Like I'm so happy with how our story ended.
Sure.
That like looking at all those micro decisions that might have changed things, like I can't think of one that I'm like, I wish I could take that back.
If your end level character found a way to cast sending, so 25 words or less, through time and space to their past selves at the beginning of the campaign, what would you say? What would be your 25 words or less you would send to the younger version of your character?
Girl, you're gonna kill so many of your dads.
Oh, just that.
No, that's not what I would say. But...
Oh, goodness.
Be less of a dick.
Hey, Asher, it's Asher.
Hey, Asher. It's Asher. Who's not a dick? You're a dick. Stop it. Bye.
Don't let Asher name the sword.
Don't let Asher blurt things out. Toxin, sword.
The Jennuvera one, I have no apologies for. I think that was gold. Kingslayer, oopsies. Like, I killed the best character.
God, Jennuvera was like, fuck, that was good.
I was such a serendipitous moment of, I thought it was Jennuvera. What? Like, it was nothing.
Oh, it was so good. I was so happy.
So
Like,
good.
I was just like, that just happened. Did you know that was going to happen? That must have been in the script.
Phil messaged me like 10 times that week about how mad he was.
And honestly, I'm so happy.
Oh my goodness, that's so funny. He was probably like, "Yeah, that'd be cool. I'd play that recurring king character." Like from an in-game, I think Keth genuinely would have wanted to tell young Keth that Gorm isn't the big bad. I think that would have been useful information. We could have framed our.
I like the idea.
Short-term, long-term goals.
I like the idea that Keth just sends a message. Gorm isn't the bad guy.
And Keth's like, we
I
gotta
don't know,
work
you
with
guys.
him. We know he's not
Guys.
the bad guy.
Yeah. No, this is
Why
me
would
in
I
the
lie?
future.
Oh, fuck, I forgot a word. No, come back!
Right, don't send that.
He's chasing down the street after the magic.
Like divination, like the lane line, like, come back!
This question is for Steph alone. Just Steph. what exactly did Jennuvera see in Clyde in the first place?
Listen.
Great question. Great question. Whoever the question asker was, great question.
Jennuvera grew up in a tunnel university with her dad and a bunch of books. So, first of all, her exposure was not broad. I think that what Jennuvera sees in Clyde is a lack of...
Say daddy, say daddy, say daddy.
is a lack of confidence that comes out through overconfidence in magic. Lack of confidence in yourself that comes out through overconfidence in magic. And I think as irritating as that was, I'm sure it was as irritating, you know, for the rest of them with Jennuvera, because there's nothing that she's lived or experienced except finding these powers. And I think that, you know, she sees a lot of that in Clyde, who is, for all intents and purposes, orphaned emotionally, right? Like he has been, he is a disappointment to his parents.
God, isn't he though?
You know, like I think she sees a lot of like parallels there, and he fucking takes the time to have, you know, like I imagine like have conversations or listen or like be like not these jamokes. You know, I think like she's so swept up in her team and her party and loves that so much, but sometimes like you want to just like sit or whatever and like
in the chat, hi King, disappointment.
You're just like your father.
yeah. But yeah, no, I think so.
Who was your favorite NPC? And it says to play or to play with.
Evian.
I don't want to say mine because Anthony's gonna get excited.
Mine was Horton.
Horton is such a fun character.
I love Horton because he, like, every time you know what he's going to do is whatever's best for him. And you know that the many pennies don't have the money to offer him anything better than what he can get from the fucking King of Emberfall who hates us. So you know he's always going to backstab you. And he's still useful and still fun and still nice.
Like a villain.
I just really love a good scoundrel. Weird, right?
I think I was thinking about it now. I think I really liked Ellatrix, and I think there was a part of it that was familiar, and Chris in the chat might it reminded me of Midnight from Madrigal, and that was like it's anytime Midnight's in town, something's going down, something's interesting's happening, lore's being dropped, and it's just I don't know that's one of the things that I thought of right now. So
I think that's a solid inspiration for that character.
I also loved Ellatrix, but like actually thinking about it more, I think I really loved Harriman. Harriman was just so cool in how confident she was, and she was everything Callus wants to be. Like she was confident, smart, like smart as a whip, super duper confident. You have nothing that she can't take from you. Like, and she doesn't care. And if she cares about something, it matters. Whereas Callus is that, except really annoying. And so, like, I think she just played this really cool, confident character, and she was the best king. Band-Aid.
She was the best king.
Well, so I think my favorite characters to roleplay with one of them was Callus.
Oh, same. I
hate Callus, but I love playing with Callus.
Right. Yeah. So I think like as NPC, like Clyde and Callus, because what they did is they made me have to like think more in the moment, because there was such a different energy around both of those characters that like you had to play.
Captain Hygiene in the
Oh,
chat says
God.
Magic Man erasure.
Oh my god, Captain Hygiene! I haven't thought about the Magic Man all night. I changed my answer. It's just the Magic.
There you go.
It's just the Magic Man.
I
Captain Hygiene.
I love the arc that the Magic Man and Jennuvera had in
Me too.
Conjunction with one another.
Yeah, me too.
That he always had an ulterior motive early on, but it was a secret ulterior motive, and so it must be bad. And so
He was watching us, and we were like walking through his hallway at some point, right? Or he was like, or maybe that was Jennuvera. I was like, how do you trust someone who's like, I've been watching you, Jennuvera? Like, this is a good guy. He seems really.
Ooh, Jennuvera, let's play a game. Like, also, the Magic Man is my favorite NPC to do impressions of. Like, when he was heavy in the story, I would like lean over to Steph at night and be like, Jennuvera. Like, fucking hated it. So he was my favorite NPC to play.
Also, my favorite NPC to everything about Magic Man was my favorite. Thank you, Captain Hygiene. I can't believe I gave any other
Magic
answer.
Man.
Forget
That was
all
a good
of
one.
it.
My favorite NPC to play was Uthral. Because
pour one out in the chat. F's in the chat.
I mean, Uthral, it's sort of an unfair thing because Uthral was written as a PC. Yeah, I PC'd him for a patron episode. And then I brought him in as an NPC as part of like, the lore of the world or whatever.
No plan.
And but one of the things I wanted to do with him and did with the orc gods is that he didn't have like persistence on purpose, right? I didn't want them to be like the answer to problems. Was just like, we just have these gods that have thousands of years of experience and can be valuable in that way. Like, no, it's a snapshot. But I just loved the sincerity of that character, and like how he just loved things and magic and
so
I like
enthusiastic
orcs and
about
magic also. Orcs, like,
I love magic.
that's a fun avenue that a lot of people I don't think play in, and it's a fun place to be.
That's I wish that Kath had always meant to discuss, tell Uthral he was dead and inside the stone and being like, you're one of the gods now, and like he never got to have that conversation with them. That's
Before
also
he
something.
killed
Kind of did. Well, he kind of did when the Bone Taker guy, right? Didn't Uthral like vaguely like come back to consciousness and then
new Life Stealer, I believe,
Yeah.
or I forget the one that came into the world, and actually Uthral gave
Life
me
Stalker.
Life Stalker. Yep.
and then
There's,
for a moment he was like, I am. And
I've talked to Spencer, who's very busy, but someday there's an Uthral backstory that we will make into a comic. That'll be a lot of fun.
I'm Uthral.
It'll be fun, but he's tied up right now. But it'll be good. One day.
Add it to the list.
Yep, right there next to Spider Hospital.
Too gone. Too far gone.
So we got a question.
Mikey, the merch store over here.
How is playing D&D with Theater of the Mind different than in person on a table, and which way do you prefer? For some of you, this will not be a valid question, I guess.
Come on, I want to answer it.
Answer, Mikey.
I'm excited to play in person at some point in the future, and I think we should do that at Dragon Con sometime when we get together and sit at a table.
Should we tell Mikey that we've played at a table twice with him? He physically
don't
has
tell
played
him.
at a
Don't tell
table
him.
twice.
Just move on.
Okay.
Just move on.
Wait, what?
Just move on.
No, you
Steph,
know what I mean.
What about you?
Yeah, we
With like little miniatures and a hex grid and all that
did
bullshit.
it at
With
Dragon Con
rules.
and at my house.
No.
We didn't have a grid or anything.
We didn't
use a
we
grid.
didn't have
We
like
use
We
a
have
grid.
miniatures.
it was still Theater of the Mind technically.
Yes.
You know what? I think I probably prefer Theater of the Mind online. I'm terrible with like visuals. Like I would love like minis and stuff would be really, really helpful for me. But I also love having this much space for all of my things. And I have like pretty fun like ADHD where like at a table I would be distracting. Like I would feel distracting at a table. So like that would make me nervous. And like I've had so much fun when we've done it, but like as a consistent thing for 3-hour stretches every week would be much harder for me.
Yeah, well, Mike and Rob, go ahead.
For me, like I think Anthony is just the best DM I've ever had, and like the thing that is cool about Theater of the Mind is it can feel more cinematic, but what you lose, like they're basically both very good ways to play, but they lose one thing from the other. And like Theater of the Mind loses a good dungeon crawl, right? Like a really cool world that you like, that exploration aspect is hard to translate to just voices. You like the same level of detail that you can get from that.
Yes.
But what you get from a tabletop sort of situation is it feels more of a board game, and you lose a lot of the cinematicness that we really play up, even in our big battles in our adventures. I think it's a lot harder to do that. Like you have like formats like Roll20, and I feel like it can be anachronistic and it can pull you out of it, and it can also be very immersive, but it's hard to do consistently, and it's for an audio medium, it makes no sense, right? So I think they both have their pros and cons. I just find this one harder, but I do it more, so maybe that's a lie. I guess.
For a show, I wouldn't want to do a table minis game unless it were a video show, because a lot of the nuance in a table game is, okay, how many squares away is this blast radius? Like if I block out this area and this area with grease and tentacles, can we put spike growth here to trap the big bad like away from us? Like there are tactical moves that you make on a grid that Mikey, I think you will fucking love as a board game obsessive. But I don't think, unless you have a video feed of the grid that you're playing on, that it makes it a good show.
Yeah, I think that's a good point.
The pieces I miss from doing things in person, I miss handouts. I miss being able to.
I love a good handout. Like a fucking you've gotten the secret letter and like you've dipped it in tea so it looks old and antique, and you're like, ooh, what is this? Like you put so much effort into this.
Or like even like
it's so wet.
Handing you
It's
something.
so wet. Why did he just do this?
You're supposed to let it dry, Anthony, you fuck.
No, you receive a wet letter.
No, it's on purpose, I swear. The fish gave it to you.
But being able to hand out like an encoded letter that a player now can spend time between sessions like trying to crack the code, or puzzles and
Never mind, I'm back in.
I'm in.
Those are things that I think are doable in an online game. They're not good for a show, and they are. It's hard to find the balance on those, I think. But like if I'm playing at the table with people and it's just us at a table, that's like everyone's getting a handout. You're getting like secret information only you have. You're getting, and you can decide what to do with it. You're getting like written blocks of text about lore and stuff. Like that's just the game I run at a table. That's different from this. I mean, I have to say it instead.
Right. Yeah, you read out blocks of text. Take away our agency 500 years in the future.
The littlest thing will set him off lately.
So sensitive.
What was
Gebeddo dies in a fountain, all right? That's all I'm saying.
what was Dunglaris's tattoo of abjuration made out of? Like materials in particular. So this was really fun. Mike wrote a character history that included Dunglaris having some sort of amulet that made him impossible to touch. And I was like, okay, I want to take all these character histories and I want to add a layer to all of these, right? I want to step all of them up a little bit. And I was like, cool, I'll throw Gebeddo's parents in a cult. Cool. Jennuvera was going to find this Adonan guy right off, and we're going to do some stuff with black dragons instead. Like we're going to go another layer deeper on that. Rob's backstory was like, I'm from the past, and I was like, all right, well,
I have amnesia, Anthony. I believe that was my backstory.
You can be from the past. It's a different past than you think.
You're like, you need more depth in your character. Okay, here's my best friend. That best friend will kill you.
Right.
Oh,
so
okay.
for Mikey, I was like, okay, like I think a physical object would be fine, but I think it would be cool if there was something you can't take away from him. Like he's inherently made it part of himself. And so that's where the tattoo idea came from. And like magically in the world, I think it's a combination of the ink that was used to make the tattoo was magically infused through regular artificer processes. And the symbols that were chosen were symbols of abjuration that enhanced the tattoo's like magical properties. Like basically Dunglaris was able to tap into the magic of the reality just by learning these ancient secrets of abjuration, and create this thing that was could not be bypassed by an assault against him. It could only be bypassed when, like, if he fucked himself up, right? Like he tripped, and it hurt him because he tripped. He could have avoided it and he didn't. So like that was the element that Gebeddo stumbled onto and was like, all right, well, we got to find something to fix this, right? But no matter what Gebeddo tried to do to get at that amulet, there was no way he could. A, it didn't exist. But B, the abjuration barrier was keeping him from like ever getting close to that, because it was an aggression.
That reveal was, that was cool. That was real cool.
And then we fucking murdered another king. That was like the most gruesome death on the show.
Oh, we were like, how do we?
It was just such a stupid fucking.
Like, I don't know. We just hit it with a hammer and
keep on
then
hitting
gave
it.
it to us. Like that's really what it was.
Jennuvera, hold the hammer.
I'm gonna jump on it.
How much of the finale was recorded all at once? The entire last episode is one recording. 260 is a single recording, start to finish. 259 we recorded a week earlier. And 258 and 259 together we recorded a week earlier. But 260 is just...
That's the whole session.
There's one line that made it into the episode where Bryce is complaining about the fact that I told them we started recording at 7. I told them probably around 8 we'll be ready. We weren't. And I brought him in about 9 o'clock. And
if you have an appointment and someone says that Redbridge sent me a message that said meet us here at 8, and it's like when it's not ready until 8:59.
Which fuck that guy, because I told them anywhere between 7 and 11. So
also, he told you he's a snake. Deal with it, Anthony.
Yeah.
Dealing goes both ways.
So there was a question here. What is Asher's lifespan and what happens to Keth if he dies? So Asher's lifespan, I mean, he's a half elf, so he's got more than a little and less than a lot. And it's a bigger question when he winds up a mendicant. But the reality is that Keth is beyond reach now. Even if the Death Lord wanted to make good on his deal, it ain't gonna happen. So he's out.
And I also think Asher, it was never clear how Asher was returned to the world, because like he's older than he is younger in elf years because there's like a time missing, and that was never explained.
Yeah.
So, maybe he's immortal too, and Anthony never told us.
Could be. I have one last question. Will the Mendicants be in season 2? Tune in this week as we start revealing details from the world of Jennuvera as it continues. A little bit this week, some next week. Or maybe it's all next week. I can't remember. But anyway, stuff's coming.
What is wrong with you? What just happened, Anthony?
I had a stroke. Next week, starting next Tuesday, I believe, is what the schedule looks like. I'm looking at Steph, but Steph is not confirming.
Yes.
Yes.
New
next week.
stuff starting next Tuesday.
Beautiful. Perfect.
The World Guide, yeah, I think it's starting Tuesday as well.
Hey, is that everything, Anthony?
That is not everything, but it is the last question. So thank you to everybody. I know. Thank you to everybody who came to join us for all of Adventure March. Thank you especially to everyone because you were just part of this whole long experience for us that obviously it meant so much to us. We hope it meant a lot to you. And we have one more surprise for everybody.
What?
could it
I
ever
thought we
be?
were done, Anthony.
Oh.
You said...
Anfont!
You sounded like you were done.
You
said...
No, tell me, Mike. Tell me what I said.
You said we have the Q&A and then the drawings and then we're done.
Okay. All right. Counterpoint. What if we weren't done? What if
There's always a stipulation.
what if
Yeah.
there was one more thing? And what if I was vamping right now till I got it where it's supposed to be? What if all
I
of
would
those
believe that.
things? What if all of those things were true?
They could be. They could
Thinker.
all be true.
That's a
Okay.
think we should talk about this as a group.
Sneak crits.
So, presenting our first sneak peek, our first hint at season 2. If this window opens, hey, browse, guys. Let me pick the image, please. There we go. There's the browse window.
Correct one. Don't reveal the other one.
Oh, I know what I'm doing. Don't worry.
Do you?
It may not look like it, but I am. Here we go. Our first hint
Just
at
a picture of Anthony.
Adventure Incorporated Season 2.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh geez.
Oh
It's
jeez.
so close.
Oh,
It's so big.
Anthony.
I know.
Anthony.
I know.
Anthony, you promised.
I didn't. There's no way this wasn't getting some sort of technical difficulty.
Oh.
But here we go. Here you go. Our first look at what is coming. And we'll post this in our Discord. If you're not part of the Discord, head over to the Discord because there's going to be all kinds of stuff like this coming out over the next few weeks as we unveil more secrets about the world. And it's going to be a very exciting time. We are thrilled about what is to come. So head over there and I'm unlocking it. You'll all be able to talk about things now in the Discord. About what's coming in season 2. So thank you, everybody. Thank you all so much. Thank you to our patrons, patreon.com/adventureinc, who make this stuff. Look at all this really cool stuff we get to do. It's just the greatest. So everyone has been so wonderful and for being a part of this. And there's so much more to come. And we're so excited. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
We love
And
you.
good night.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Journey is fuck yeah.
This journey is fuck yeah.
Fuck yeah.
It is fuck
Extreme.
yeah. Hey everyone, just a couple quick reminders. If you like the show, don't forget to tell your friends. And you can head over to patreon.com/adventureinc and become a patron as well. You can also head to our website, adventureincpod.com, for links to our social media and the store where you can find t-shirts, stickers, and more. That's all. We'll see you next week.
Serious business.